Welcome to Scott Stream. I'm Scott Hambrick, and today I want to talk about the outrage game. I just posted a blog post on scotthambrick.com about being offended. I roast recently a guy who was a comedian on the Saturday Night Live television show was fired because certain people were offended by something he did. I'm driving down the road here. We're talking into my handheld. And I've been thinking about the state of being offended a lot in the last couple of years. And I've come to realize that being offended is just something that happens internal to the person who was offended. Here's another way of saying it. I cannot give offense. It can only be taken. I know this is true because I'm pretty hard to offend. If somebody was to, crap in the floor at my house, I wouldn't be offended. I would kick their ass and throw them out. The offendedness says something about the internal state of the one who is offended. It used to say a lot, I think, about how someone may have trod on social norms. But when communities were more homogenous in mores, and values, and the rules were known, and you offended someone, then you could be pretty sure that you had trod on convention. The social contract, if you will. I'm not sure that there is a social contract, but we'll use that term right now. Well, nowadays, the rules change so quickly, and not only do they change quickly over time, but they change from city to city, community to community, to the point that I don't know what the rules are. And even if I did know what the rules were today, I don't know what they are, what they will be tomorrow. And this taking of offense can lead to people losing their jobs, and often does. I do believe that some of the people who claim to be offended are in fact offended, but I think a lot of them are also lying to damage their political opponents. Or maybe not even their political opponents, maybe just their social opponents, someone they're vying for a job promotion with, or someone who they believe has resources in the workplace that they would like to have, or maybe somebody they just don't like. Since the rules of the game are changing so quickly, I think that we are all eventually at risk of treading on whatever the rules are and offending someone and losing our livelihood. Even the people that are supposedly masterful at playing this game, or maybe even in on the game, are getting eaten up by the outrage game. Like Justin Trudeau has recently been found to have posed and performed in blackface, which apparently is a sin, although at the time when he did it, it was not. So even he, who's a darling of the left, is suffering for this. I think it's coming for all of us. So if you work at a company that has an HR department, if you work in public, there's a good chance that you are at risk. And I think over the fullness of time, you are absolutely guaranteed to be at risk and to eventually trigger the outrage game. And anyone that plays the outrage game ultimately loses. So, if you work in modern America and there's an HR department there, you are at risk. If you have large clients who have HR departments, you are at risk. So I think that we need to go ahead, since we're already at risk, even when we act according to what we think the rules are, we're still at risk. I think that we need to go ahead and act as we think we should, right? Do what you think is the right thing, because you're at risk anyway. So you might as well act with integrity and act in the way that you believe that you should act. So act with integrity, even if it risks being called to the principal's office or the HR department, or being attacked by the Twitter mob, which, by the way, isn't real. Twitter is not real. I know a lot of people can't risk this. They have economic responsibility, they have personal responsibility, they have familial responsibility. They can't afford it. It's on so many levels. And I feel for those people, and I know that's a bad place to be in. But and they're saying, I can't act the way I want to. I can't say the thing I think it needs to be said because I could lose my job. Well, I actually think that proves my point. You are at risk anyway. You're at risk anyway. And maybe you can't act the way you want to act because it puts you at further risk, but you are at risk and something must be done about it. So what can be done about it? What can be done about this risk? We need to have a plan. We have a survival plan. One, you've got to get rid of your debt. If you've got debt payments that are due every month and you lose your job, you're in trouble. You've got to get rid of your debt. Two, you have to live simply. Your monthly requirements for cash need to be very, very low. This is important. I actually think that the proliferation of debt is probably encouraged by the priestly class, because the more debt you have, the more compliant you must be in the marketplace. So getting rid of that debt removes that shackle, at least to some degree. Reducing your monthly cost does it further. If you can reduce your monthly costs enough, you don't need that job, or at least the degree to which you reduce the job is the degree to which you reduce your requirement for the job, right? 3, diversify your income sources. You need a side hustle. You need several side hustles probably until you find one that works, because you need multiple sources of income. 4, we probably need non-cash income. Somebody that you can swap work with, right? Somebody you can swap work with. You trade a guy fresh milk and eggs, and he'll fix your tractor when you need it. I don't know what form that will take for wherever you are, but when you see those opportunities, and I see them sometimes, where I'll swap people favors. I'll do some barbell coaching for them, and then they'll help me with Facebook ad marketing, for example. Find opportunities to do barter. The more of those you have, I think the better off you'll be. 4, wait a minute, was that 4? How about this? Next, cultivate local community. Cultivate a community that of like-minded people who care about you and that you care about, and who are unconditional in that caring. Not only would that be family and spouses, but good friends that you break bread with, good friends that you play games with, good friends that you confide in, and good friends that you work alongside with. The more of those people that you have, the more insulated from the dangers of the outrage game you will be. I think we probably should all work on securing multiple payment processing sources. This is something I need help from you guys with. I use several payment processing sources for my various enterprises, and I would like more. I would like more than I have. We're at great risk of being deplatformed from different payment processors. Indiegogo is notorious for killing crowdfunding projects that for outrage reasons, for social justice reasons. Chase Bank has been known to kill payment processing for people with certain thoughts. So we need to find 100% agnostic, non-activist payment processing routes that we can use to make sure that we can obtain currency and do banking. All of this outrage game has gotten worse, more vituperative, and more difficult to overcome ever since I've been an adult. It started probably in the late 80s, early 90s, and it has just accelerated over time. Maybe it started before then, but that's when I began to notice it. So one of the big ones is finding these payment processing systems. Additionally, finding DNS hosts that will domain registrars for our websites. Finding hosting services for our websites that are completely agnostic and safe is important. So the finding ways to conduct business that are safe and agnostic is super important as well. And in fact, at this point, may be impossible. In which case we're going to end up ultimately being relegated to business only in the physical world, which ain't a bad deal. I operated when that was the only possibility for quite a long time, and the world has done that for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years more than we operated with this virtual stuff. So there are a few ideas of things that we can do to inure ourselves to the problems of the outrage game that is out there. And remember, people will ultimately take offense at something you have said or done, which at the time was totally legitimate. They will dig back into your history, your timeline, and use your past actions that were just and good under the current laws, and have now been deemed to be wrong think, and they'll use that against you to help deprive you of a livelihood. I think eventually we're going to end up with not just a fiat currency, which we already have, but actually no, what do they call it? Is it specie? No, species coin. I mean, like gold and silver, without actual tangible banknotes and coinage. And when that happens, people that commit wrongthink can potentially have their entire wealth confiscated from them, and they could have their ability to collect and process even the smallest of payment completely deprived from them. So we need to find ways to protect ourselves from this sort of existential threat. Again, there's evil out there, and evil seems to be very, very interested in controlling our use of language, because they know, and I know. Evil knows, and I know, that language forms and influences the way we think. And if they can control that language, they can control the way we think. And if they control the way we think, they can control the way that we behave. And once they've got that, we don't exist anymore. We're just psychic objects to be manipulated like chess pieces or machines or economic units, or worse. I'm worried about it, but there are things we can do, and the degree to which we do these things will render us freer. So I think that's important. Let me know if you have any tips or tricks or contacts that would help us do any of these things that I outlined here to obtain this sort of freedom from the outrage game. You can put that in the comments on scotthambrick.com, or you can just email them to scott@scotthambrick.com, and we'll start compiling. I think we'll start compiling a how-to guide, because we all need that. Thanks for listening.